You can. Yes. Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Today's show is brought to you by uppercutchops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you try their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignons, and, of course, the king of all those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut USDA Prime Wagyu ribeyes. Wow. I have to say it slow because they're exciting. And you want to chew through it slow because they're so big and ridiculously tasty. Wait till you try those USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus burgers as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The half pounders. They're amazing. Anyway, give them a call. 702-799-9935. uppercutchops.com. 702-799-9935. Find out what's for dinner, or again, check them out at uppercutchops.com. An astounding round of applause for that. And all of our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, from Honolulu all the way to Southwest Florida, all of our independents. Yes, we're everywhere. And Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Wow, Cable, and Hotel TV from coast to coast in every Nielsen rated market, gaining over 4 million impressions per hour. And we're here today with Emma Bratt, who is our intern from Illinois State University. Emma, say hello.
Hi.
What else do you have for us besides hi?
I'm from Illinois State University, and I am a broadcast journalism intern this summer for the Sports Circus.
All right. That's good stuff. Hey, Emma, today we are joined by a very special guest. In fact, let's let him introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Dave Jackson, former NHL referee. 32 years with the NHL, a little bit of supervising, and now you're rule analyst on ESPN hockey. A lot of times they call me a rule expert, but I hate that. Too much pressure on me. So I like being called a rules analyst, and I'm not a referee analyst. The play-by-play guys, the color guys can analyze the referees. I explain the rules.
All right. That's good stuff. Oh, by the way, it appears also that he plays guitar too. Maybe he'll talk about those at some point during the show. Dave, thanks for joining us today. So without time stamping the show, right? Because we don't really want to time stamp it. We already know that we have a brand new Stanley Cup champion in the Vegas Golden Knights. Yes. But of course, that would be Chance, the mascot, the Gila monster, arguably the coolest one in the business. So Dave, I have to ask you right from the top, because this is driving me crazy. I was watching, I believe it was game 4. In game 4 during this game, I saw a mad scramble in front of the net, in front of the Golden Knights net. And it looked to me like number 23 in red, which I believe was Verhaeghe, was holding on to Aiden Hill's arm in the net, holding the goaltender, restraining the goaltender from playing his position. Am I the only one that saw that? I certainly can't be.
Well, you know what? It's funny. Is that the goal that there was a controversy? So there's a whistle, and that was game 5, I'm thinking of. Game 4, no. There was no challenge on the play. There might have been contact early on, but you know what? People forget that the call on the ice means a lot. So it's not like you're just starting from zero and showing a video with no context. The call on the ice is made. The referees determined that even if there was incidental contact, it's not enough for a goal to be taken down. So if you're a coach going to challenge that for goalie interference, you've got to overcome the fact that all things being equal, the referees and I said it's a good goal. You need irrefutable evidence to overrule that, and there wasn't. So play on, good goal, good hockey goal.
Well, okay, so this was no goal. There was about maybe 45 seconds left in the third period, and it was a mad scramble. No goal was scored, a mad scramble in front of the net. Nothing went in, but it was as clear as the sky is blue in the middle of the desert in the summertime that Aiden Hill's arm literally was being clutched and grabbed, and he couldn't move to the left to cover the left side of the net. And I was wondering what the heck is going on here, because as I understand it, there's also possibly an off-ice official that may have seen something too, in case the on-ice officials didn't. Is that true or not true?
Not on penalties. Not on penalties. So I honestly, I can't remember the play you're talking about, Dan. I was thinking of a different one, but you've got to remember the referee, when it's down close, so goal interference is such a tough one. You got the referee down low. When it's a scramble in front of the net, he's looking for the puck. He wants to kill the play. It doesn't have to be puck focused totally, because we do have replay, but his call matters. Like I just said, his call matters. So he's going to be semi puck focused. A lot of those things get missed unless you run the goaltender over. If it's not egregious, tough for that down low referee to see it. And the guy at center ice, well, he's watching everything around it. He's making sure the guy doesn't get cross-checked into the net, things like that. So those things get missed. That's why a lot of times goal interference becomes a challenge, because the team has the video goal coach who is same as you. You pick it up on tape, call down to the coach, say, hey, look, this is what happened. The referees will see it on the ice. Now, they don't get to make that call once it goes to coach's challenge. That's Toronto, the situation room, making that call. But they do consult, and they say to the referee, hey, what'd you see there? He says, well, I didn't see any interference. And they show that, they pull out the iPad, they're looking at it, and they go, oh, yeah, he was definitely interfered with. Toronto ends up making the final call. But that's why a lot of times, if no goal is scored, there's nothing you can do about it to fix it. But that's why some of those get missed, because the down low referee is he's more puck focused than he is seeing little grabs in the upper body.
So what about the idea that, remember, we used to have this rule really enforced with offensive guys in the paint, right? You're in the crease, and if a goal was scored while somebody's skate was in the crease,
yep,
the goal would be disallowed. Now that kind of went away after, well, it's been some years now that we've seen that kind of go away. How come?
Because people hated it. See, there's really no fixing goaltender interference to please everybody. You can't do it. We tried it and it didn't work. It was zero tolerance. It was, if your toe's in the crease when your team scores, we're disallowing the goal. Everybody said that's great. We finally have some guidance on this. It's black and white. And guess what? We were having goals scored all night long that had zero impact, the toe being in the crease. Legit hockey goals that have been a goal for 100 years. All of a sudden, we're disallowing these goals. And rightfully so, hockey people were going, this isn't the answer. We can't make this rule black and white, which is what we tried to do. And then Brett Hull scores the goal for Dallas Stars. I believe it's 1999. Wins the Stanley Cup. People piling on the ice, and Buffalo is trying to get someone to review this because Brett Hull had his toe in the crease, which I will still defend as a good goal, because he kicked that puck to his stick. As soon as he kicks it, he has possession and control, which is an exception. He's allowed to have his toe in the crease at that point, but it wasn't explained very well. But after that sort of fiasco, they decided we can't have this. Let's put the judgment back in the referee's hands. And now we have video replay. We can challenge. I think it's in a good spot. I really do. And if people would educate themselves on the rule itself, NHL.com, they have a video rule book, and they have a link to goalie interference. 8 minutes. It'll be life-changing if you're confused on goalie interference.
Now, Emma's a former goalie. Emma, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I do have to agree with that, because a lot of the times, if the skate is inside the crease, that doesn't make any difference on whether that was a goal or not. So I do have to agree with that. It's kind of, it's black and white there.
All right, so it's black and white, but the paint is blue. So restricted the goalie can only stay behind the net, right, in the trapezoid, can't go in the corners anymore, but you can now go in the goalie's crease and you could camp out there. I mean, it seems like advantage not to the goalie. And we see these rule changes in baseball too. I'm a former baseball player. It drives me crazy, but that's another story for another time. So, Dave, are we seeing a push for more offense maybe over the last decade or so? Is it going to keep heading that way?
We're definitely seeing a push for more offense. You've seen it used to be that you look at faceoffs, for example. The defensive centerman used to have the ability to put his stick down second, which gives you, in theory, it shouldn't give you anything, but the guy who comes in first, it's like putting a horse in the gates, for the Kentucky Derby. The first horse in is at a disadvantage because he has to sit there and wait while you load the other 12 horses.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So now we've changed it to where we put the offensive player gets to put his stick down second. So the defensive center gets all twitchy. That's to increase offense. Used to be a puck deflected out of play. Well, if it was the offensive team that shot it out, it went outside the zone. No, every faceoff's in the zone now. So it's all geared towards more offense, but the goaltender is still protected in his crease. We just don't want the goaltender to have complete immunity on loose pucks, legitimate plays. It all comes down to incidental contact. If it's legit going for the puck, it's play on. If it's deemed deliberate contact, you're probably going to get the goal taken away. And I think that's a great balance.
Right. So we're going to break right now, but when we come back, I want to talk more about these rule manipulations because that's kind of how I see it. But then again, I'm just a person. I can't skate. I'm that guy that has the 2 skates in. I just couldn't do it. I grew up in cold weather. I can't skate. Save my life. Nonetheless, we're going to be back here with 32-year referee in the National Hockey League. That'd be Dave Jackson and intern Emma here at the Sports Circus. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere. Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. The American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com. 799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. AAMP TV stands for All Ages Media Programming Television. Make sure you check it out online. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are our podcasts. Of course, we don't do a podcast like 2 million other people. We actually do a real television and radio show that happens to live stream as well. Anyway, you can check out all of our recorded shows in full at Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, Amazon, Audible. We're everywhere. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you go to the partners page and check out some of our partners. One of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, back here in Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. Welcome in everybody on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA over in Honolulu, all the way over to WDJY 99.1 FM in Atlanta, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves over in Auburn, Alabama, covering Montgomery and Columbus, Georgia. Big hello to everybody right here in Las Vegas, KJPT, Jackpot Radio, and KVGK. Imagine that, KVGK Radio right here in Las Vegas, 97.9. Nice round of applause for them. And everybody else, WBGY, of course, Southwest Florida. And that is just one of many Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Wall Cable Television, and Hotel TV. Back here with Dave Jackson, referee from the NHL for about 32 years. Pretty good guitar player, as I understand it as well. We're going to hear about that in just a moment. And intern Emma Brott from Illinois State University. And Dave, where do we leave off in the last segment?
I think you were talking about goalie interference and how goalies have no rights. And we're trying to just infringe on their space and create more scoring. I agree. We're trying to create more scoring, but goalies have rights and people just don't seem to understand what those rights are.
Okay. So Dave, when you played a minute ago, what position did you play? Where'd you play on the ice?
Well, I was a defenseman growing up, and I'm a fairly big guy now, but so I'm about 6'4", 220. And when I was playing hockey, when I was midget aged, I was a decent skater, but I wasn't that brave. And I was a defenseman, but I was about 5'10", 160 pounds. So I wasn't getting many looks from scouts, and I wasn't very brave. So I took a lot of cross-checking penalties, a lot of high-stakes self-defense penalties, but even then I got battered around. So now I play men's league hockey, and I'm a forward because nobody back checks in men's league. It's up to us and the goaltenders to protect the fort and get the puck up to the forwards. So I decided I'm going to be one of those forwards. Just get me the puck.
Okay. All right. So it's kind of like just give me the damn ball, like Keyshawn used to say in football, right? And so here Emma's a former goalie. And so here you are protecting the goalie, protecting anything in that area. And what did you find that was the most disturbing thing that goalies would do just to drive you crazy from trying to do your job?
Well, we still have that in men's league hockey. We have goaltenders that try and coach and tell you who to cover. And I mean, like, dude, who to cover? I'm 58 years old. I'm not covering anybody. I'm getting over at the far blue line so you can get me the puck.
Right.
But yeah, I think goaltenders that worry more about what their defensemen are doing than actually doing their own job was what used to frustrate me.
Emma, what do you think about that? What drove you crazy about the defenseman in front of you?
I feel like I had a really good relationship with my defensemen. I was never critical of them. I didn't really tell them what to do. I'm not even lying, but yeah.
Okay.
I was way too focused on what I was doing.
Emma, I don't want the political answer. I want the real answer. What drove you crazy about defensemen?
Last time I played was 3 years ago. I'm going to have to think about that.
Okay. Well, you go ahead and sit and stew on that one. I can imagine just being a goalie, and I've never played any of that, but I would imagine as a goalie, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're going to get in front of the goalie to block a shot or something, block the damn shot. Don't screen the goalie so the goalie can't see what's coming.
Absolutely. Don't screen the goalie, and don't try and let the goalie see the shot. Don't try and get your stick in the way of it, because he or she has a bead on that puck. He doesn't need your stick changing the direction of that puck. I mean, that's what most goalies would tell, even at the NHL level. It's like, if you're going to block that shot, you make sure you block it, but don't try and get your stick in the front of a shot that I can see.
Okay, so talk to me about the pain factor of blocking a shot.
Well, you're asking the wrong guy, because I made a point of always, I'm never really good at math, but good at angles. And I knew how to make it look like I was blocking a shot without the puck ever having a chance of hitting me. So
Really?
yeah. I mean, I had crappy equipment growing up. I mean, and like I said, I knew I was never going to play pro. So why would I want to block a shot? So you're asking the wrong guy how to block a shot. And in men's league hockey, I mean, when I see someone winding up, I'm doing the, what do they call it? The stork or whatever. I'm on one skate. I got 1 foot up in the air, hands near my face. I want no part of blocking a shot, because I'll tell you, as a referee, our equipment's nowhere near what players are wearing. And we're out there in the ice, NHL players firing that puck 100 miles an hour. That puck hurts. I mean, forget about getting hit in the head or face. I mean, that could kill you. But just getting hit anywhere, in the thigh, in the ribs, in the elbow. I mean, I remember getting hit once in Long Island, up along the boards. The guy tried to ice the puck for he was killing a penalty. Got me right in the elbow, right in the funny bone. And I dropped to one knee, killed the play, because I knew, and there was one referee then. So I knew I'm out of commission for a sec. So I killed the play, and I went over to right away to the Islanders bench, and it must've been a look on my face, because they scattered. They thought I was going to be sick. And yeah, I leaned over the boards. I was fine, but I mean, that puck hurts. I mean, it really hurts. And I'm sure Emma can tell you, even wearing goaltender equipment, you get hit in the right spot, and it's debilitating.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you this. As you're sort of straddling the blue line, right? And somebody rings it around, and let's just say they're dumping it in, and it comes around so hard and it hits your skate. Have you ever literally been knocked off of your skates because somebody dumped it in, and they just dumped it in so hard it hit your skate and actually threw you off balance? Did it take you down?
Yes and no. It did not take me down because of the force, but with the new skate blades, the way they are, they clip in and out. The steel clips in and out. I've been hit so hard in the skate blade that it's popped the metal out of the holder.
Okay.
And obviously you have to kill the play then, because you can't skate on one skate. But the funniest thing I find is when you're standing still as a referee, and you're usually in pretty good position, knowing that you're giving them boards to wrap around behind you, or you're deep enough they can go off the boards and out, and they end up hitting you. And they yell at you, get the heck out of the way. And my first, comment on that is that, listen, dude, if I was wearing an other team's color sweater, that puck wouldn't have come anywhere near me. You would have known that I can't even chance putting this puck within 3 feet of there. But because I'm not a player, I'm a referee on stripes, they think I'm somehow gonna, matrix and move and get the puck through me. I mean, dude, I'm standing still. That's on you. And if you think I want to get hit with that puck, it hurts like heck.
Your question, Emma.
Okay, well, I had a more general question about your experience reffing in the NHL. So I was wondering, since the playoffs just happened, I was wondering about your experience with the backlash and the intensity and everything that is just so much more intense during the playoffs versus the regular season. And I was wondering how your experience was different, and maybe what you prepared for differently reffing the NHL playoffs versus the regular season.
Sure, that's a great question. I mean, when I came in the league in my first NHL game was 1990. In fact, Guy Lafleur was playing, so I'm from Montreal, and that was such a thrill being on the ice with Guy Lafleur. He was with the Nordiques at the time, but 1990, I went full time in 93. No more minor league games, and it was one referee. So there was only 11 or 12 referees on staff. So I didn't get playoffs for my first 7 years because only 11 guys worked the playoffs, and we were 12 or 13, and I was last man in. So I'd get standby assignments. So, I'd work 75 NHL games, and then come playoffs, I'd just be in my suit and tie, and I'd be down on ice level watching the games. And I said, wow, this is really different. It's much faster than a regular season game. And I did about 7 years of standby. And when I finally did an NHL playoff game, it was 1999, I think, or 2000, Nordiques jersey, right on. I love it. And I thought I was ready for the NHL playoffs. I mean, I'd been right on the other 6 inches from the glass for 7 years watching all these games. I go and do an NHL game in the playoffs, just from the minute you hit the ice, the electricity, the fans, and you drop that puck. And the NHL is the fastest league in the world. And I thought I was prepared. And I tell you what, like, my hair was on fire. Like, my head was just spinning around and around. I go, I can't believe how fast the controlled mayhem this is. It just blew my mind. And every call you make, every call you miss, every call you decide not to make is so much more magnified in the playoffs. The building's full, everybody's watching. And it's just, I tell you what, a lot of sleepless nights. And when the game goes well, you're on a high, man. You're just walking out of there like you're floating on a cloud. When you've missed a call or cost a team a playoff game, and you don't sleep for 2 nights, you stare at the ceiling. Guys internalize it, they really take it seriously. They don't just shrug it off and go, oh, well. I mean, it means the difference of moving on to the next round or not. So it's night and day, regular season and playoffs.
But it also means the difference in getting your razor blade out and shaving too a little bit earlier than the next guy. All right, when we come back, we're going to be back here. I want to talk a little bit more about the speed of the game as you move up in age and as you move up in skill level too. So back here with Dave Jackson, 32 years in the league, been calling some penalties and, well, making some people happy and some people not so happy. Anyway, you can catch Dave on ESPN as their rules expert, we'll call him. And you might be able to catch him on stage playing guitar. Back here with Emma Brott, myself, and Dave Jackson in just a few moments. So, Cody, we're lots more to come here on the Circus. Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business. Okay, they've already heard this one. How about this? I've had this since, this is Joe Sakic from back in the day, right?
That's pretty awesome. That's
and
really cool.
I had this when they sucked and they were terrible. But you know what? I wore it. Everybody made fun of me for wearing it. I didn't care. You know, back in the early 90s, whatever, get over yourselves. But I just love it. It's great for the peepers too.
Absolutely. No, that's a classic jersey. This is a great
sweater. This is probably the coolest one I have next to all things Blackhawks. But no, I really like this because it's so different. And I'd love to see another club in Quebec doing what they did. I mean, let's face it, you know, as soon as they made that Eric Lindros deal and they moved to Denver, it's like, what, didn't they get like 7 guys for Eric?
Something crazy like that. Yeah, it was
like 3.
I mean, I think they got 3 guys and then like 4 consecutive draft picks or something, and which turned out to be like Owen Nolan, Matt Sundin, I don't know, Adam Foote was in there, Curtis Lecision.
Lecision was in there. You know, Lecision's kid played for Vegas all the way up in our farm team here, all the way up until last year or last season.
So. Yeah.
Then I forget where he got dealt off to, but his name, I forget his first name. But anyway, he was pretty good, and I think he's a forward.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, the guy's got some skills, but nonetheless, I was an original Ducks season ticket holder from 1993.
Okay.
And the people in Southern California, let's face it, when you have a new hockey team and you're trying to explain basic rules, they don't give a damn. No. They're there to drink and have a good time and eat all the food. They don't really care about the game at all.
Yeah.
You know, city to city, you see that, I'm sure.
You do, but success brings them in. When a team, I mean, Vegas has had success since the beginning, so they're very fortunate. But some of these expansion teams, without it, you know, they have to rely on the team starting to win, build the buzz, and that's when fans come out.
Right. Well, you know, the Seattle club, they made a really nice upgrade from year 1 to year 2, and I mean, those guys are pretty damn good.
They are. I think they're going to be good for a while.
They've got some speed there too. All right, we're coming back in about 15. All right.
Okay.
Hopefully this is okay. You having fun, right?
Yeah.
Anything cover,
sure.
you walk cover it.
Yeah, great.
Good. Emma, you're going to bring us back from break. I'm going to cue you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Sports Circus. I'm Emma Brad. Then throw it to me. All right, here we go. I'll cue you.
Hey, everybody. This is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
Hi, I'm intern Emma Brott. You're listening to the Sports Circus, and here's Sal.
All right. Welcome back to the Sports Circus, everybody. I'm your remaster, Sal. That was our intern, Emma Brott from Illinois State University. And we are here with Dave Jackson, 32 years in the league, refereeing, blowing whistles, making people happy, making people sad. And guess what? This is not a game where you bring a crying towel. Just get over yourselves. All right. Welcome back to everybody on television, radio, and streaming. Everybody also on Facebook. A big hello to you and those people on the Mars rover, because you can't get away from us. All right, Dave, in the last segment, we were talking about lots of things, but let's kind of shift from that and let's talk about the speed of the game. All right. So you had talked about maybe prep from regular season to playoffs. Let's talk about first the speed of the playoffs versus the regular, because there seems to be a notion of desperation in these games. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Desperation, controlled mayhem. I mean, it's win or go home, right? So people say, geez, they watch the NHL playoffs and go, oh, why can't we see 80 games like this? The players would be dead. You can't perform that way for 80 games. These guys, the injuries they play through. I mean, if it was a regular season game, a lot of times the guys wouldn't dress. They're injured. They're icing down their injuries. But come playoff time, I mean, you got time to recover in the summer. But you take a night off, your team loses, you might be on summer break. So it's just crazy. And guys don't take penalties. That's the other thing they talk about, how the referees just call a different game in the playoffs. Well, I disagree. I think the players play a different game in the playoffs. In the regular season, you see guys taking lazy penalties. You see guys taking retaliatory penalties. You can't do that in playoffs, or the coach is going to nail your butt to the bench. In playoffs, the penalties are desperation penalties and accidental penalties. You're trying so hard to get that puck. You're trying so hard to catch the guy. Sometimes you're a little overly aggressive and you take maybe a tripping penalty you didn't mean to take, but it's just a complete different mindset. And the fans wonder how referees sometimes miss a penalty. Well, you should try sitting in the front row at a hockey game and you don't see the game the same way you do from the press box or from the TV camera. It is just, there's no sight lines and the game's just moving too fast.
That's a great point of view. A lot of people seem to miss it. If you've never had a glass seat as a fan, folks, go sit at the glass. And not only will you see the incredible speed of the game and everything that's going on, but you couldn't possibly see 180 degrees right in front of you, because technically you're looking in front and maybe you get about somewhere in there about 90 degrees, but you can't see on the sides of you. You just don't have it. You can't pay attention. Everything that's going on to the left, everything that's going on to the right, everything in the center, it's not possible. And I had that appreciation experience one time when I had glass seats. I was like, wow, I mean, I know the game is fast, but I didn't realize, just as a fan, and you're sitting there right next to the bench, and you're like, wow, look at all the chaos that's going on. It's really controlled chaos, Dave.
It really is. And, to your point, the speed, I'm a huge NASCAR fan. And if you've never been to a NASCAR race and you just watch it on TV, it looks like they're driving around 60 miles an hour. And you're like, I don't see the excitement in this. But, oh, man, you go to a NASCAR race at a super speedway and you're anywhere near the track, or you're lucky. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be in the pits quite often. They're doing 200 miles an hour. And you don't really get a respect for that speed unless you're there live. And you just look at that and you go, man, that is exciting. And I think hockey's the same way. It's great on TV when you know the game. But if you've never been to a hockey game and you say hockey's not for you, I'm saying just give it one try. Just give it one chance. Go watch a live hockey game in the NHL and you'll be hooked. It's just fantastic. I think it's the greatest game in the world.
When I look at the NASCAR thing, I'm glad you brought that up, because when I think about my own experience, now I'll have to buzz out some of this.
All right. Well, this is an adventure, is it not?
Here's me.
Yeah, I come down here. I love doing this. I've been doing
I
it for a
have
long
to
time.
play this,
One of the things I cover, racing.
but I have to
Folks.
I have to mute one word in here because I said one bad word, and I'm going to go ahead and kill that right now. There it is. Okay, so check this out, Dave. You'll appreciate this.
I'm in this car, and here's our crew. There he is. Say hello, everybody. What's your name? Albert. Albert? I'm Greg. Greg and Jeremy. There's Jeremy.
We're at Daytona here.
How fast?
Okay.
About 170.
He says we're going to go 170. Oh, no, you don't. We got up to 205.
Okay.
Were you driving or you a passenger? Was that you behind the wheel?
No, I was just a passenger.
Passenger. Okay.
Listen to this thing roar.
I'm jealous because I'm addicted to NASCAR. I love it.
Well, you know what, Dave? There's one funny scene in here. I'm going to get to it, but the experience of being in one of those cars, folks, if you've never done this, it is something really, truly special, because it's not often that you get a chance to not only experience these things up close, but to be a part of something where if you don't understand it, you have this point of view like, oh yeah, they're doing maybe 60, like you said. But when you're literally going 200 around these corners and you're getting sucked out the window because the G's are incredible, what a crazy experience. And for all those people that are watching, you can kind of see you can kind of see what the screen was showing. Look at what? So everybody, my point that I'm bringing this up is, Dave, exactly the speed discussion. The speed discussion is such an important discussion that people don't seem to understand the speed of a game. Just like if you're watching baseball on television, and I can tell you this as a pitcher, I came out of high school throwing 97 miles an hour as a lefty, and I kid you not, until you see it up close and you're in the box and you can hear that ball sizzle by your head, you don't realize the rate and the fact that that ball's curving, doing all kind of crazy things.
Yep.
So to your point, the speed is a really big deal.
It really is, whether it's racing, baseball, hockey, and the players. I mean, let's say guys who've never played hockey wonder how a guy can make that play. You don't realize, I mean, all these beer league hockey players are saying, well, you know, I could make that play. No, you can't, because these NHL players literally sometimes have half a second to receive that puck and dish it. They can't take that puck and decide where they're going to go with it next. They need to know where they're going with that puck before they even get it. And that's what makes them NHLers. And that's the biggest difference. There's a lot of fast skaters in the American Hockey League. They don't move the puck as fast as the NHL players.
Well, it's funny you mentioned beer league hockey. So I was trying to help out my nephew one time, and he's a pretty good hockey player, right? He's a first he was a winger, then he went to defense. And so I didn't really know how I could help this guy. So I called up George and see if George can maybe point him in the right direction. And George had mentioned something about beer league hockey. And then I called Devo and I said, hey, Devo, what do you think about the situation? He said, you may want to have your nephew check out the beer league hockey up in Canada because it's better than most of the American hockey that we see over here. It's a pretty true statement, isn't it? Because beer league hockey is still a pretty big.
I mean, I think if you go to places like Minnesota or Michigan or Massachusetts, there's some pretty darn good beer league hockey there too. There's a lot of good hockey players. But I think
hockey?
It's just, I mean, guys that keep playing hockey that are our age, but somebody's got to bring the beer for the locker room afterwards, because you know, you're not going to play at 10 in the morning. You're going to play they're usually late night games. You know, you get the kids play the hockey from 5 till 8 till 9. And then the adults get the rinks usually around 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And if you're going to give up a night at home to go play hockey, it's usually to have beers at after the fact in the locker room with the guys. And you talk to any NHL player, any NHL referee, do I miss refereeing? Not really. I don't miss the actual pressure of being yelled at, of being right, being wrong, or stressing with the game. But I really miss hanging out with the guys I used to work with before and after the games, and just, sometimes having a cold beer and talking hockey. I mean, that's the camaraderie. And that's what I think is common amongst all ex-athletes is they don't necessarily miss playing the game. They miss the camaraderie.
Yeah, that's a really big deal. And, Emma, you've been out of hockey for a few years. Don't you kind of miss being around everybody and doing what you did all the time?
Yeah, I definitely do. There actually was not a women's league until just this year, and I haven't played for 2.5 years now, so I'm not going to join. But I have joined intramural softball and other intramural teams at my school, and I really like that. But it can never amount to actually playing on a hockey team the way that I did in high school. I really miss it.
Dave, maybe we might have to get her to put those pads on again and just maybe join a bear league and play a little bear league hockey. What do you think, huh?
Well, I think she should, but I also think, like most goalers, I know a lot of ex-NHL goalies, and they all play beer league hockey, and not one of them's a goaltender. They say, screw that. They were good enough skaters that they just put the players' equipment on and they hang up at the far blue line like I do. Just get the puck up to me because I'm not, you basically, when you play men's league hockey as a goaltender, you're a target is what you are. You're just there for guys to shoot at, and you better stop the puck because no one's helping you. No one's blocking shots. No one's doing anything. So it's thankless.
I wonder if a terrible skater like me, because I am a bad skater. I wonder if a terrible skater like me could maybe play goalie. But then again, I wouldn't be able to move as fast, and I'm certainly not flexible. No butterfly for this guy. No, the only thing I think of is butterfly, maybe butterfly chicken or butterfly shrimp, on the barbecue or something like that. Anyway, folks, we're going to be back here in our final segment with Dave Jackson, 32 years in the league as an official in the National Hockey League. And of course, Emma Brett, our intern from Illinois State University, back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can't be fun at the old ballpark, friends. High pop fly. That would be a home run in a phone booth. I don't know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you'd get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people when you're a little kid, especially from a humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize. There's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over the first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think if there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. 1 ball, 1 strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. There's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about our congressman being crooked, there's a pitch foul on a play. Why not talk about commercial products who don't do what they represent to do? There's a smash to Squires. He's got it. 1, 2, 3, nothing across. We're going to the bottom of the 7th now to score. All tied up. Milwaukee 4, the White Sox 4. Hey! Everybody! All right, Nancy, let me hear you. Right. It's a shame. 3 strikes, you're out. There's a drive. Way back. Holy cow! This crowd is wild.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Folks, again, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, and our partners as well. Lots of partners on that page. Check them out. They're all over the place. If you're in Chicago, check out Al's Beef at 1079 West Taylor, or go to alsbeef.com for a real Italian beef sandwich. Not a Philly cheesesteak, an Italian beef sandwich. Great stuff. I get paid nothing for saying this. I just like it because those are our friends, and we always give them an astounding round of applause. Yes! And we're here with Dave Jackson, 32 years in the league as a referee in the National Hockey League, and Emma Brott, our intern from Illinois State University. Dave, when's the last time you've been in Chicago?
I was there this year. My youngest son, Ryan, who's 28, got signed to a minor league deal with the NHL as a linesman. He played college hockey, went on to play a couple of years of minor pro hockey, decided he wasn't going to make it as a player. So he attended the NHL's refereeing officiating combine in Buffalo, New York, a couple of years back, and they placed him in the American League and liked what they saw after a year, and they signed him to a contract. And then he did his first NHL game in Chicago, October 30th of this season. And it was great being back, great being in Chicago Stadium. Great seeing the guys he worked with, who were all former co-workers of mine. You know, Wes McCauley was on the game, and it was a great time. It was fun for me to be back in Chicago and back in the rink.
All right, that's great stuff. All right, Emmy, your question.
Okay, so you just talked about being in Chicago. Growing up, I had season tickets to the United Center, and that's actually the only arena that I've ever watched a hockey game in. So I was wondering, what's your favorite arena that you've ever reffed at, maybe been to a game at, and what the atmosphere was like?
Well, I'm not pandering to the Chicago crowd right now, but the original Chicago Stadium that I was fortunate enough to work in was indescribable as far as the beauty inside and the big pipe organ, but the national anthem. And everybody talks about the anthem in the United Center, which is great. It's the best in the league, but it doesn't even come close, in my opinion, to the original Chicago Stadium. And they prepared me for it. I thought I was ready for it. And I was out there at center ice, and it starts. And I got benefit of two anthems. They played the Canadian anthem, the first was Canadian. I think Edmonton was playing. And then they played the American anthem, and the crowd started yelling, immediately. And then it just kept getting louder and louder. It got to the point where if you've ever been to an air show and those fighter jets come roaring over your head and the ground starts to shake, that was the feeling that I got Chicago State. And I'll even admit I had a couple of tears streaming down my cheek because I became so emotional. It was incredible. So that's probably number one. Being a kid from Montreal, being able to referee in the Montreal Forum, where I grew up going to watch games, was pretty special. And I'm going to say Madison Square Garden, because you're in Manhattan, you feel like Frank Sinatra when you're there. So those are probably my top three.
Okay, so who had the best food out of all these stadiums? Because you got to eat something while you're there. Who had the best food and who has the worst food? We won't tell anybody. It's okay.
I can't answer that for you, because we come in the back loading dock, go to the referee's room, and we split after the game. I don't think I've ever eaten on the concourse at any rink, except Montreal. They got the best hot dogs in the league. And you ask any NHL, they'll tell you that. They'll tell you, Montreal's got the best hot dogs. Special kind of buns. It's almost like bread. It's got like a crust of bread, and then they butter them lightly and then they grill them.
Oh, that sounds really
Oh
good.
yeah, and they're really thin too, because they like a panini type press right down on them. So you could eat 6 Montreal hot dogs and not even, you know, you throw them in your mouth like peanuts.
That's good stuff. All right, Emma.
Oh, another question?
Yeah. That's why
All
you're
right.
here. It's live. Listen, folks, first of all, we don't edit this program. It's out there. Whatever is out there is out there. And God forbid I pick up one of these guitars and start playing. I'd rather hear Dave pick up one of his guitars. And we're going to learn about those right
That's
after.
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen if I'm playing either. But folks, we leave it out there. We don't fix it in the mix, right? Like a lot of those podcasts do. We don't do that. So whatever's out there, Emma, you're on it. Just like Blue Bonnet. Let's go.
All right. So another question I have about your experience being an NHL ref is, we talked about a lot of backlash. We talked about different stuff. And you said you really like the camaraderie of being a ref. But I was wondering, did you ever have one specific moment where you were like, oh, I want to make this my career?
I don't think it was necessarily one moment. I started refereeing. I mean, I don't think anyone who's a young kid says, I'm going to be a hockey referee when I grow up. I'm going to do it as a career, because obviously the glory and glamour is in being a player. And I grew up in Montreal. The Montreal Canadiens in the 70s were winning the cup. I think they won 5 or 6 times in the 70s. I wanted to play for Montreal Canadiens. And, very early on, probably around the age of 16, I realized I was never going to play in the NHL. But I started refereeing kids hockey when the dream was still alive as a player. I was probably 14 years old. And I did it just because I hated my paper route. It was a morning paper. I had to have it delivered before 7, and I'm not a morning guy. And I hated delivering newspaper in the snow and the rain. And a buddy of mine said, hey, why don't you try refereeing hockey? You get paid, you get to skate, you get to be at the rink. So I started as a 14-year-old, and I started moving up, and I was pretty good at it. And then when I never got drafted at 18, I stopped playing hockey for a while, and I just concentrated on refereeing and going to college. And I just I kind of got fast tracked. And when I did my first major junior game in Canada, it was a Quebec League. And that was back in the day. The Verdun juniors had Pat LaFontaine, they had Jerry Gallant. They had a lot of good players. And I was on the ice with these guys. I was a linesman even then. I wasn't even a referee, but I said, this would be pretty cool if I could, keep doing this. And I decided to take it serious then. I worked out, I put on some muscle, I got bigger, dedicated myself more to it. And I said, I could make a career out of this. So I think probably when I was 18 and I started doing Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, that's when I kind of had the aha that it might not work out, but if I really dedicate myself to it, I might have a shot. And it worked out. NHL hired me. They didn't hire me, but they brought me on staff as a trainee at 21. So 3 years later, I was working for the NHL.
So the pressure of hockey in Canada, and the reason I'm bringing this up here in our last few minutes of the show is we had a player traded away from the Vegas Golden Knights in the offseason last season. And the reality is he liked it here, but he said the fans and the team, it just wasn't a serious, hungry environment. Of course, then he goes to Montreal, and obviously where hockey is everything, right?
It is.
And of course, that guy, he leads the team. Guess what? They hoist the cup, whatever the case. But the reality is that he said they weren't serious enough about it. What do you have to say about a person that says that Vegas is not serious about hockey now?
Well, I tell you what, Vegas came in the league in my final season, and I was fortunate enough to be assigned the home opener, which, first regular season game in Vegas. And I was so pumped to do it. And I was like, this is an honor. And then you had that terrible, tragic shooting, days before the home opener. And so the home opener became a really somber event. All the advertising came off the boards, and I believe they put Vegas strong on the boards. They had all the first responders on the ice. They had the victims' names on the ice. And the teams all stood together. And as referees, we stood amongst the players for the anthem and the presentation. And it was such a powerful moment. And it was sad, but at the same time, you saw the sense of community in the Vegas fans. And then we dropped the puck, and Vegas scored right away. And I believe, won the game 6-1 or something against Arizona, I think was playing. And I was fortunate to do 6 more games that year in Vegas. And when I retired, Vegas went all the way to the finals that year. Did they not? Was it? Yeah, their first season. And I went to a game on Mother's Day. When you retire, you don't do playoffs. You pick your last game, and I retired 2 weeks before the season ended. So I was done. And my wife said, hey, it's Mother's Day. Let's go to Vegas. My wife loves Vegas. And I got tickets for the hockey game against Winnipeg. And it's the first time I'd been in the crowd in Vegas. And we never see what's going on during intermissions. And what a spectacle, what a show. And I turned to my wife and I said, wow, they really do it up for playoff games. And she'd come to several of my league games, regular season games. And she goes, oh no, hon, like they do this every game. Every game. It's an event every single game. And I go, wow, that's amazing. And I talked to some of the locals that were in the seats beside me, and they're like, we just love this team. We are so fortunate to have this team. And the Vegas community is passionate. Nobody thought it was going to be the local fans. They all thought it was going to be people coming, visiting fans in to see their team. But I tell you what, that their Vegas fans are some of the best in the league. And anyone that would say they're not passionate is just misguided.
Yeah, I would agree. I've been a season ticket holder since the beginning. I was at that first game that you were talking about, but it's complete.
Did you yell at me? Were you yelling at me that game?
I think I was.
Okay.
I don't know.
That out there.
It could have been. Actually, if you would have heard me yell, you hear me yell over and above everybody. It's remarkably, ridiculously loud. My friends can actually hear me on TV. It's that bad. Right. Anyway, that's another story. Listen, Dave, we got about a minute left in the program. Is there any cause, anything you want to get out there? How could people follow you? Take a quick minute and talk about that real quick.
Well, people can follow me on Twitter. My handle, I believe, is ESPN Ref NHL. And I do my best. So you follow me on Twitter. I'm not going to talk politics. I'm not going to talk anything controversial. I just like to put out explanations of rules. I think the way you build the game, the way you promote the game is to have an educated fan base. And when we like talked about NASCAR, if you know the rules and you can enjoy the sport more. So follow me, watch hockey on ESPN. Any games ESPN produce, I'm there. If there's controversy, I just try and explain the rule. And people ask why I don't dump on the referees. I won't support a bad call. I'll say maybe they, would have liked that call back, but I'm not going to pile on. But I will certainly explain why they made the call, even maybe why they missed the call, and what the parameters are, what they're looking at in Toronto to get this call right. So, you know what? Hockey's a great game, and if I can help explain it, make it a little easier to understand, and that's what I'm going to try and do.
All right. Great stuff. All right, Emma, take 10 seconds, talk about your experience, and then we're out of here.
All right. Thank you, Sal, for having me on today. Thanks, Dave Jackson, for answering my questions. This was a really interesting conversation we were able to have, and I'm glad this is my first experience on air.
All right. That's good stuff. Of course, we give Emma a round of applause as well. So, folks, we're going to be back here on your favorite station in about 23 hours. Lots more to come here on a day-by-day basis. Again, remember, you can't get away from us. Radio, TV, streaming, we're everywhere. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. That's going to do it for today's show. And we'll see you next time right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.